Hey and howdy everyone, it's Jeannie with Paper Pixie Ink. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are moving on to the final tutorial for the Sunset Beach mini album. So today is tutorial number 8, where we are going to be finishing off the album. So we're going to attach our pages, we're going to make some tags and some mats, and we're going to do some decorating. So hopefully by the end of today's video you will have a full and complete album. So stay tuned. So let's go ahead and add in our pages now. So we're just going to apply some liquid adhesive on both sides of our tabs and start attaching our pages. So I'm going to go almost all the way down to the scores, being fairly liberal with the glue. You can also line these with double-sided adhesive and use that. I just find that liquid glue gives me the best adhesion that stays. So we're just going to take this. This is our first page. We're going to open it up like this, and we're just going to insert it down, lining it up with the bottom, and I'm just pressing in on the tab to try and get a good adhesion. Then I'm going to lay it flat and make sure that those press down. And you're just going to do this for all of your pages. On pages where you have components like this, just make sure that when you're gluing it to the inside and not to those pages. Again, lining it up, top and bottom, and push it down. Make sure you get really good adhesion. Make sure that you get that on both sides, not just one or the other, but both. And we're just going to do that for all 6 of our pages. Okay, so now I have all of my pages into my album. And next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create or finish creating the inserts that will go in all of these pages. I'm just going to make sure that I didn't get anything glued that shouldn't have been glued when I was putting my pages on, because sometimes if you put too much glue on, it will seep through or over, and your pages, your pockets will stick together. Okay, so earlier we had cut and scored these, so they are 6.5, I think, by 5.5, so 6.5 by 5.5, and our pages that we have are only 6 inches. So we're going to need to cut something that is about 1/4 of an inch to put on here. I actually will probably put it on the bottom as an accent. Maybe the top. Probably the top. So I think I'm going to use that same glitter paper that I've been using. So I am going to need 6 strips that are cut to 5 1/4 by about 3/8 we're going to do. All right, so we had this strip, so 5 1/4, and then about 3/8. So there's one piece. That's 2 pieces. So we're going to get about 3 pieces out of this, because that's not going to be enough for... So this one's not quite big enough, but I will hold on to this because you never know when I might use it. So I'm going to cut this to 5 1/4. And then I am going to cut 3 more pieces at 3/8. So 1, 2, and 3. And actually, we're just going to go ahead and trim our pattern paper as well. So we need 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to cut these to 5 1/4 this way. So let's do it on a piece that makes more sense. So you want to cut it 5 1/4 this side and leave it 6 inches up and down, because our page inserts are going to go in this way. So 5 1/4. So 5 1/4. 5 1/4. As you can see, they'll go on just like this, and we're going to put that strip of glitter paper up top. So these are going to go like this, and then we have our little strips of glitter cardstock that's going to go on top that we may need to just do a little bit of snipping with so that they're nice and even. So these go just like this. Now I think I want to do something decorative to the tops of these, just so that they stand out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this newer-ish We Are Memory Keepers. It's a corner punch, and I am just going to use, I'll use the large one, I guess. I'm going to punch punch, punch, punch. Did not do the greatest job on that. Well, that did not go out well. I'm gonna have to cut another one of those. Okay. Actually, I'm probably just gonna snip those. Okay, so might be easier to just snip those. So I'm gonna do this, and then this will go on here. And then I need to snip the corners of these off. And I think I cut these 3/8 may have been a bit much. Let's cut 6 more. We're gonna do them at 1/4. And I'm gonna hold on to these because you never know when you're gonna use them for something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those are recut. You could have just trimmed your other pieces, but I find cutting glitter cardstock to be a little bit more challenging than regular. It gets caught and whatnot in the blades, and so this just seemed easier. All right, so this is gonna go on here like this, and then these are gonna go right on it like this. So we just need to snip the corners. Just like that, I think. And that should be pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and glue this one down. Making sure you put these ones on the right way. And then we're just going to put a little bit of glue down this one. And press it down. There we go. So these open just like this. So you have lots and lots of space in your pockets as well. And then these just sit in like this. Just like that. So we're going to go ahead and do what we just did for this one for the other 5, and then we will start working on decorating our front cover. Okay, so I have finished putting together all of my pocket page inserts. All just look like this. So now we are going to move on to decorating our album. So I'm not going to do a chunky charm on the side of this one like I did on my Lavender Farm album, mainly because I don't have a lot of beads or charms or anything that would actually go with this album in particular. So we're going to do something different with the spine. I have done a video once before, I think, that did a quick kind of look at how I create my chunky charms, but I will look into doing more of those in the future for you. So for the front of the album, let's just get this closed up. We need to decorate this somehow, because for this album we had this cute little kind of window look where I was able to kind of pop up part of the element by cutting it out, and then I just kind of made it look like things were exploding from outside. So we can't do this because we don't have any elements from this collection that kind of mirror this. So we're going to do something different. So I went ahead and die cut this frame. This is the ornate oval frame from Pink Fresh. And I just went ahead and die cut it on a piece of the glitter cardstock like we have been using throughout the album. And then I had the page of these cut aparts, the 12 by 12 page of these cut aparts. So I went through these cut aparts and I found one that I kind of liked. It was kind of an offset color a little bit from the rest of this, because I know this is very kind of peachy toned. But I just went through and grabbed one that I liked. So there's lots of options here. And I just, using this as a guide, I just cut the excess around it so it would fit around this, and I'm going to glue it on, and then we will decorate this. So I'm just going to put a very thin amount of glue just all around the very outside of this, because I don't want this glue coming through to the front. But if we do, we can always fix it by, you know, putting something over it, adding flowers, or okay, so I'm going to lay that down, and then I'm going to lay this right over it. I'm going to do the top first because I want to make sure that's as aligned as possible before I lay the rest of it down. So we will pop this up on some chipboard pieces so that it has a little bit of extra dimension. I am going to cut out a bunch of mats to go with these. So these are all approximately 3 inches by 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out mats for all of these using some of the white cardstock, and I'm going to do a couple of different styles. So in this album I had, you know, some of the basic ones where it's just a sheet on a mat, and then I also created some that were more, you know, book-like, some trifolds, some books, landscape and portrait style. So I'm going to go ahead and create a bunch of those for that. It's entirely up to you, so I'm not going to film this part. You can do pretty much anything that you want with these. I'm also, so I had Other than my scraps, which we'll use some of those as well, I also had some actual like pages. So I am going to also create some different elements from these as well. So I'm going to create some additional mats with these. So I'm just going to stick the camera on fast forward, I guess, so that you can kind of see what I'm doing, but you don't have to watch it. Since we have so many pockets, we can tuck quite a bit of stuff into those to give lots of extra journaling space and photo mat space. So we still have these. So I'm going to cut this down to, let's do 4 by 4, because we don't have any of that size yet. And then I'll need a piece of cardstock for that. And then 4 by 4. I'll need a piece of cardstock for that. So 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So there's one. Four and a quarter. So there's that one. Now let's create some little tags. So this is too long because this is 6 inches and the total album height is only, 6 inches, 6 1/4 inches. So we need to cut this down a little bit. So I'm just going to cut this to 4 1/2. So I'm creating just basic tags out of all of these. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. This one is fine. These are all kind of small tags. You can hand create some of these. You can use that one. Here's another piece that we can definitely use, but we're going to cut it down. So I'm going to cut it down to 4 1/2 again. This one's a little small. And we can create some tags out of these pieces as well. So we can definitely cut this down to use. This is pretty. I think we can use that one on its own. Let's cut this one down. Let's do this one at 5. That should still give us plenty of space. These are all smaller pieces, and you can always, if you find that you're coming to the end and you're getting very low, you can always use these pieces as well, because you can cut them into strips and create tags and mats using the strips. So, and it can create quite a fun effect as well. So I think that's all that I'm going to do. I might create a mat for that. So, big mess. Lots of little pieces left. So let's set these aside for now. And we can create some tags out of these. Alright, so I'm going to put that aside. And I'm going to grab my scoreboard, and for the pieces that we cut earlier for our 3x4s, I'm going to go ahead and score these for all of them, just as soon as I find my scoring tool. So this one was cut to 6.5 by 4 1/4, so we're going to score this at 3 1/4. And we had a few of these, so it's just going to become this little, little book like this, and it'll go in here, and then you have plenty of extra space. So we had a few of those, so 3 1/4 and 3 1/4, and then we had some that were 8.5 by 3 1/4. So 8.5 by 3 1/4, and we're going to score those at 4 1/4, so that when you fold them over, you get this little booklet that opens this way. And I apologize for any background noise that you can hear. They're doing construction in my area, and it might get a little loud. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of these pieces together, and then we will come back and work on some tags. Alright, so let's go ahead and create some tags and whatnot with some of these pieces that we pulled out of our scraps. So I'm actually a big fan of these punches from We Are Memory Keepers. So I think they have another one now too. Maybe one day I'll pick it up. So using these punches, I am going to create some various tag toppers with these. You could also just use these for them as well. If you don't have these, if you don't have anything, you can just like this one cuts corners off, you can use a pair of paper snips to just cut the corners off as well. And you can measure if you want to get, super exact. So the other tool that I like using with these is to create these little kind of reinforcement rings that will go around these. It is perfectly sized to fit these, and I like using it because it just kind of helps finish the tags off a little bit. You can use lots of different materials and whatnot. I'm just going to use some of the glitter cardstock that we used in various parts of the album to cut a bunch of these. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we will be right back. Alright, so now that I have all of these punched out, I'm just going to go through and put all of these through one or the other of my tag punches. So these aren't always obviously cut to the sizes that these cut for, so I just try and make sure that they are even. and then punch. Okay, so now I have a bunch of cute little tags created, and I am gonna get rid of my mess because I have a lot of mess. And I think I'm going to grab a little bit of my scrap white cardstock and create a few tags as well, just because these will allow some journaling to be done for some tags as well. And again, I always keep all of my scrap because you never know when you may need it. So let's go ahead and create some tags from these. Alright, so I'm going to put these away. I'm going to create some more of my reinforcement little tabs to put on these new ones that I created, and then we are going to add some ribbon or twine or whatever to all of these just to add a little bit more flair to them. Alright, so I think I have enough for all of my tags, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, you know, for my pattern paper which side I want to be like the front of the tag. And then I am just going to grab my glue and I'm going to put a couple dots around it and then drop it into place. If you are not comfortable doing this, you can always use tweezers, which I do sometimes. And I'm just going to do this for all of my tags that I'm creating. So I will be back when I'm done. Alright, so I found some various ribbons in my collection, or twine, as the case might be, so that I can create little, not bows, but, you know, a piece that comes off tags. So I am going to take some of these and just cut some strips. And I will do this for all of them, but I don't need to share with you how to do this for all of them. So I'm just going to do a couple examples. So for this, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to take one of my tags, I'm going to pull the two of them through. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to pull these through a little bit and push them through the opening, and then just pull them up and cut them a little bit longer, apparently, because that's a little short. So probably cut them about here. And same thing, fold them over, poke them through the hole, pull them through, open it up, pull them through, and then kind of tighten them. So I'm just going to create a number of these different combinations to go on all of my tags. So I'm not going to make you watch that, but you can choose any combination. You can use just one, you can use a number of them. There's a few different techniques for tying them around here. This is the one that I find the easiest to do, so this is the one that I like to use, but you can use whichever one you want. Alright, so now that I have all of my little photo mats and journaling cards and whatnot created, these are all of my little tags that I created. So lots and lots and lots and lots of fun little things. I'm going to open this up, and we are going to go ahead and tuck as many in here as we can while still considering what we want to do with our front, because we still have a ways to go for that. So I'm just going to grab some different elements, and actually before we do that, let's go through and do our little tuck spots. So I'm probably just going to use tags for all of these spaces, and let's use a couple in this one. I'll do a couple in this one too. All right, so now we just have our pockets. So I'm just going to glue a couple of these on here as decorative elements, and then I will probably put something from the chipboard sticker sheet across here, because we just have so many to put in. Now, you don't have to use them all. You can create them as you're decorating each page, just so you can see what it is that you need. I like trying to use as much of my leftovers as I can, just so that I'm not wasting any of my very, very pretty papers. So whatever method you choose to do is up to you, but this is the method that I kind of like using. Okay, so there's all our pieces tucked. We have kind of a lot going on here. So now I am going to move on to the front cover and figure out what it is that I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and go through my stash of paper flowers and see what I have that will go with this. Alright, so I'm going to do something like this. I might rearrange a little bit, but I think I'm going to keep it fairly simple. These two leaf pieces are from Little Birdie, and the rest of these I think are old recollections from Michael's flowers. They're in my stash. Don't quote me on that. They're real old. I've had them for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all of this down. So the first thing, I'm just going to push all of that down. I've just taken a couple of pieces of scrap chipboard that I keep around for just this purpose. Just so I can pop up this little framed element that we have here. So I like gluing these together first and putting it on the back of my piece, just so that I can, you know, kind of make sure that it's not really going to show through. And then I can make sure that I have this at the right spot. So I think I'm going to have it over to the side just a little bit, and maybe a little bit more in the corner, just to give a little bit more space for these elements to go on. No, I'm going to leave it mainly in the center. So I'm just going to make sure that I get quite a bit of glue on that. And then, you know, making sure you have it right side up, I am going to lay it down and try and make sure that you get it straight. And then I am going to lay down my leaves, and my flowers will kind of go over them. So I'm tucking these up underneath a little bit because I don't want them to really get smushed when the album is standing up. So I'm going to take my biggest flower, I'm going to put a bunch on it. I'm going to press it down. I actually think I am going to lay a little bit of glue down here, and I am just going to press. I had a couple pieces of my ribbon that I had cut for my tags. I'm just going to lay these pieces down right here, just to give it a little bit more. just a little bit more to my cover. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to stick this down. I'm going to take my other big one. And I'm going to lay that down. Just a smidgen. And then this is my smaller raised flower. So I'm just going to put that right in here, making sure that lies relatively flat. And then I'm going to take my first flat flower and I'm going to press it down just like this. I'm going to take my second one, I'm going to raise this one a little bit, and I'm going to press this one down. And then I'm going to press and hold these just a bit so that I can make sure that they actually stay put. And then we're going to do the same thing over on this side. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to press this down, whoops, right in here. And then I'm going to take my second one and do the exact same thing. So there is my cover. For this album. Now we still have chipboard stickers to work with, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose something to go on my spine. So I think I might just take this Sunset Beach and turn it sideways. But I'm going to ink the edges. And to do that, I am going to use my distress ink. This is the tea dye. And I'm just going to lightly go around the sides, just to give it a little bit more definition. Being careful to keep your ink away from your book. Now these are stickers, but I like my things to stay stuck. So I'm just going to put some glue on the back of that. I'm going to turn this over and I'm just going to try and center it and lay it down. And then I may put a couple of gems on either side just to add a little bit more definition to that. All right, so let's get inside our album and see what we can do to use some of our chipboard stickers and add a little bit more detail to our album. So I'm going to grab this Sunshine on My Mind, and again I'm just going to add a little bit of ink around all of my edges to just add a little bit more depth to the stickers. You don't have to do this, this is just a preference. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of it, and I am just going to glue it down here. And then for this one, I'm just going to take this one, and again, I'm going to ink all of my edges. And this is going to go right over here. So I'm just going to add glue to the back of that. And then I am just going to lay that right down on top. And it looks like it was pretty much made for that spot. So I'm just going to go through and do that with all of my pages. So some of these I won't use. Some of them I might save to do, you know, maybe some fun tags or some cards or whatever the case might be. But there are a lot of options. So for example, I might use one of the smaller ones to put on here. So I could use, you know, beach or sunset, or there's lots of them here. So I'm just going to grab this on the beach one. And again, I'm going to ink up all my edges. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of that, not have it upside down. And then I am going to lay this down just like this. So I'm just going to continue on and finish the rest of these pages. So this will be the end of the tutorial. I may add some extra little gems and whatnot throughout the album just to add a little bit more depth to my pages, my cover, whatever. But this is kind of the build and creation of all of the pages for this album. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and as always, if you're interested in seeing more, don't forget to click on that subscribe button.